Things are moving incredibly fast as we head toward the World Cup, and you do not want to fall behind. Make sure you hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell right now so you get our breaking news updates the literal second they drop. There is a question hanging over this tournament that nobody at FIFA wants to answer directly. It has nothing to do with tactical preparation, squad depth, or which underdog has the best chance of making a legendary run. It is a much more uncomfortable question, one that strikes at the very soul of the sport. Can every team that qualified actually get here? Right now, 5 nations heading into the 2026 World Cup are carrying a weight that has absolutely nothing to do with football. They are facing genuine, unresolved uncertainty about whether their players, their officials, and their supporters can even cross the borders. We are told that football unites the world, but what happens when the world cannot get to the football? Welcome back to the channel, where we strip away the corporate marketing and take an honest, clear-eyed look at the realities shaping modern football. If you have followed this sport for decades, you deserve a perspective that avoids both hysteria and corporate PR. Today, we are analyzing 5 qualified nations whose journeys to this tournament have exposed staggering logistical and geopolitical fractures. These are the stories unfolding in the final, chaotic days before kickoff, beginning with a situation so unprecedented it has left an entire squad stranded in administrative limbo. Consider the Iranian national team. Their players have given their entire lives to reach this stage, navigating a brutal 4-year qualification cycle that is completely separate from the decisions of governments. Yet, with the opening match imminent and group stage games scheduled for Los Angeles and Seattle, the documentation required to enter the United States remained entirely unresolved. The players were quite literally left waiting for their visas while the clock ticked down to zero. This administrative gridlock forced FIFA to take an extraordinary, unprecedented step. They permitted the Iranian national team to move their official tournament base camp from the United States to Mexico. Under this arrangement, the squad lives, trains, and recovers on Mexican soil, only crossing the border into America for the 90 minutes of their scheduled matches before immediately retreating. Think about what that reveals. A team that qualified for the biggest tournament on Earth is unable to safely base itself within the primary host country, relying on a neighboring nation as a physical refuge. It is a logistical band-aid that has absolutely no parallel in World Cup history, exposing massive blind spots in FIFA's pre-tournament planning. But this is only the sharpest edge of a much broader access problem, one that stretches across entire continents and raises uncomfortable questions about who this tournament is truly for. Later, we will look at a European powerhouse facing an unprecedented domestic revolt over this very event. But first, we must look at the financial barriers erected against an entire region of the footballing world. The African nations heading to North America have been carrying a deep, justified frustration that has cast a shadow over their entire preparation period. In the build-up to the tournament, a visa bond requirement was introduced, demanding a massive $15,000 financial deposit from fans traveling from several African countries. In the context of the local economies, this was not a security measure. It was an effective ban on ordinary supporters. By the time the controversial visa bond was finally waived, the damage was already done. The waiver came just weeks before the tournament was set to begin, after months of leaving fans in absolute limbo. You cannot book international flights, reserve hotel rooms, or arrange affordable travel accommodation at the very last minute. The window for working-class supporters had slammed shut. This is not an abstract bureaucratic failure. This is a grandmother in Senegal who has saved for years but cannot watch her country play. This is a group of friends in Cameroon who followed every single qualifier, left stranded at home while wealthy corporations fill the luxury boxes. The late waiver was a hollow gesture, proving just how low the needs of African supporters were prioritized in the grand design of this tournament. The third nation facing a profound crisis might surprise you, because their obstacles are not external border controls or visa delays. Their crisis is internal, domestic, and unfolding right inside one of the host nations itself. Mexico is co-hosting 13 matches of this tournament, with the legendary Azteca Stadium set to host the opening match. Mexico's footballing culture is irreplaceable, yet its preparation has been rocked by a stark reminder of the security complexities within its borders. Just weeks before the opening whistle, a lone gunman opened fire at the top of the Teotihuacan Pyramids, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Mexico's most heavily visited tourist attractions. Before we look at the final nation on our list, one facing a journey that pushes human endurance to its absolute limits, I want to pose a question to those of you who make this channel possible. If you appreciate this kind of deep, analytical look behind the curtain of global football, take a moment to subscribe and join our community. Looking at everything we have uncovered today, which of these 5 national situations concerns you the most? And do you think FIFA has fundamentally failed its responsibility to the fans? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The 5th and final nation sits in a completely different category because their hurdle is rooted in the sheer, overwhelming geography of modern sports commercialization. Australia qualified for this tournament on the back of an extraordinary, historic run to the quarterfinals in Qatar. They possess the talent, the ambition, and one of the most famously dedicated traveling fan bases in world football. But the reality facing Australian supporters tests the absolute limits of what an ordinary fan can endure. To follow the Socceroos, fans are forced to navigate journeys across the entire expanse of the Pacific Ocean, confronting massive time zone shifts and staggering travel costs. But the true barrier isn't just the distance. It is the pricing structure. The ticket prices set by FIFA for this tournament, layered on top of astronomical long-haul flight costs, have transformed a traditional football pilgrimage into a luxury item available only to the wealthy. Australian fans famously sacrificed their savings to bring their unmatched energy to Germany in 2006, South Africa in 2010, and Brazil in 2014. But this time, the economic math has shifted in a way that actively excludes the working-class heart of the sport. As a result, the traveling Australian contingent is projected to be a fraction of what it was in previous editions. The passion has not diminished, but the economic barriers have simply become insurmountable. When you look at these 5 distinct nations, Iran, the African countries, Mexico, the Netherlands, and Australia, a common, undeniable threat emerges. This World Cup was explicitly marketed as the first to embed strict human rights, inclusion, and accessibility criteria into the very fabric of the bidding process. Host cities published extensive manifestos promising a seamless, global welcome. Yet, the reality of the final days of preparation reveals a massive gulf between corporate rhetoric and human experience. The World Cup was never supposed to be just a massive revenue exercise or a commercial television product that happens to feature a football. It is meant to be the ultimate expression of the game's power to transcend borders, break down bureaucratic walls, and create a shared human experience. When an elite squad cannot even secure visas to enter the host nation, when traditional fan bases are priced out by financial bonds, and when supporters must genuinely calculate whether it is safe to travel to a host city, the tournament's stated purpose falls into deep conflict with its execution. FIFA has maintained its usual stance, insisting that everything is entirely under control and that once the first whistle blows, the football will speak for itself. And to an extent, it will. When 48 nations clash across 104 matches, the sheer quality of the players will inevitably produce moments of absolute magic that will captivate the globe. But the parallel story of this tournament will also be told, and it will remain a permanent part of the legacy of 2026. It is the story of who was allowed into the stadiums and who was left behind, which fans were turned away by paperwork, prices, or geopolitical gridlock, and which communities were excluded from the beautiful game. In just a few days, the historic stands of the Estadio Azteca will fill to maximum capacity. The months of controversy, administrative failures, and systemic barriers will momentarily fade into the background as the first ball is kicked in Mexico City. The game will do what it has always done. It will transcend the chaos around it, delivering that pure, unmistakable magic that everyone recognizes instantly, whether they are watching from a pristine seat in the stadium